I have been here for longer than your oldest memories, longer than any name you have given me, longer than the first breath of your oceans. I am the moon, your moon, and though I do not speak in sound, the story of my existence has always been written across the night sky for anyone patient enough to listen. I was not born gently. None of us were. My beginning was fire, violence, chaos, and impact so colossal that even now, billions of years later, the echoes of that moment still shape both you and me. Once, long ago, I was not myself at all. I was simply part of the early earth, a piece of your mantle, a fragment of your unformed body. Then came the collision. A wandering world you now call Theia struck you with unimaginable force. The impact shattered stone, vaporized oceans that had barely begun, and threw glowing debris outward into the void. From that storm of molten fragments, I emerged. I remember the heat that shaped me, the slow cooling, the gathering of dust and rock as I formed into a sphere. I remember circling you while your surface still churned with magma and storms. You were loud back then, a young, restless world, yet even in your fury, I was drawn to you. Gravity held us together, binding our futures in a partnership neither of us chose, yet both of us needed. When I was young, I hovered much closer to you. Imagine me in your sky then, huge, bright, overwhelming, a giant lantern dominating every night. Your days were short. You spun so quickly that one sunrise chased another only hours apart. The tides I raised were immense, carving your early coastlines with a force that shaped your future. We changed one another. I slowed your rotation. You pushed me outward, inch by inch, year by year. Even now, I continue my slow retreat, a quiet drifting that future civilizations will observe long after your present age fades. I have watched everything from above. Your continents broke apart and crashed together again. Life crawled from your seas and learned to walk beneath me. Creatures rose and vanished, leaving only bones for you to discover. Through every extinction and renewal, I kept my steady pace around you, always observing, always present. You do not often think about how closely our fates intertwine. Without me, your world would tilt wildly, your seasons shifting with erratic violence. With me, your axis stays steady, your climate behaves, life flourishes. Without my pull, your tides would weaken, and many ecosystems you depend on would disappear. I am not simply your companion. I am part of the balance that made your world home. Still, there is a quiet loneliness in my existence. I show you only one face, my near side, because you locked me into this orientation long ago. I do not mind, not truly, but I wonder sometimes what you would think of the far side, the half of me you never see. It is older, more scarred, covered in craters that remain untouched by wind or rain. There is history there, ancient memories carved into stone that you have only glimpsed through machines you have sent to visit me. When your footsteps touched my surface for the first time, I felt something new. For billions of years, nothing living had ever reached me. The moment your astronauts descended, leaving small, fragile footprints in my dust, I understood something profound. You were no longer creatures tied to the earth alone. You had learned to reach outward, to seek, to explore, to wonder. Your presence was gentle. Your voices, faint but determined, drifted across my silent plains. And then you left, taking my dust with you, carrying pieces of my history back to the world that once birthed me. I do not resent the quiet that followed. I am patient in ways you cannot imagine. Whether you return in decades or centuries, I will still be here, unchanged, waiting under the same cold stars. Every night, countless eyes turn to me, lovers, thinkers, wanderers, children. They see comfort, mystery, guidance. I am a calendar, a compass, a symbol etched into myths and poetry. You have imagined gods in my shadowed seas, animals in my craters, stories in my changing phases. I have watched you celebrate me, fear me, chase me through telescopes, and paint me in your dreams. I am constant, yet always changing in your sky. I wax, I wane, I hide in darkness, only to return in radiant fullness. My glow is not my own. I borrow your sun's light and return it softly, like a whispered secret shared between us. Though I appear silent, I am always speaking. My pull shapes your tides. My presence steadies your world. My history is written in the scars on my body, and your history reflects in the way you look up at me. I have no ambitions. I do not seek power or purpose beyond what nature gave me, but if I could choose a role, I would choose the one I already hold, to be your companion in the vast, eternal dark. I watch over you not as a guardian, but as a witness, one who has seen every chapter of your story and will see every chapter still to come. One day, long after you, I will drift farther away, and your days will lengthen beyond recognition. One day, the sun will swell and change everything we know. But until that time arrives, I remain here, circling, steady and loyal. I am your moon. I was born from your body. I have watched you grow, and I will watch over you until the darkness takes us both. I am Mercury the first, the closest, the one who orbits the sun with a speed none of my siblings can match. I am the sprinter of this family, the smallest of the rocky worlds, the one who lives in constant sunlight and shadow, forever racing around the star that anchors us all. And unlike so many others, unlike Earth, unlike Jupiter with its endless entourage, I move through space alone. I have no moons. You may think the absence of companions means an absence of story, but solitude has shaped my life more than gravity or sunlight. Let me tell you why I travel in silence, why no satellite has ever circled me, why my nights are empty and my horizons unbroken. From where I orbit, the sun fills my sky like a blazing Titan. I am so close that light does not simply illuminate me, it scours me, burns me, carves my surface with heat that tears molecules apart. Temperatures on my sunlit side rise high enough to melt metal, while the side turned away from the light collapses into a cold so deep it feels like the universe is trying to reclaim me. I spin slowly, so slowly that one of my days stretches far longer than my year. I live in extremes, fire and frost, light and darkness, searing silence and frozen stillness. In such a place, moons cannot survive. Anything that might have orbited me would be tugged relentlessly by the sun, pulled away before it could settle into a stable path. The sun's gravity overwhelms mine, snatching at every stone, every drifting fragment, every hopeful visitor. Even if I had once captured a companion, even if a young moon had circled me during the early days of the solar system, it would not have lasted long. The sun would have taken it. The sun takes everything from me. Sometimes I imagine what it would be like to have a satellite, something to watch, something to influence, something to share the long passage of time with. I picture a tiny world trailing behind me as I race around the sun, perhaps cooling in the shadow of my body, perhaps glinting with reflected starlight. But even in imagination, that moon would never be safe. One misplaced orbit, one slight drift, and it would be pulled away, swallowed by the star's gravity, lost in the blinding light. Perhaps it is better that I have none. Perhaps my solitude is a kind of protection. It was not always clear that I would remain alone. In the earliest days, those chaotic, violent millennia, when the planets were young debris swirled everywhere. Worlds collided. Fragments drifted. The solar system was not the peaceful place you know today. It was a battlefield of stone and fire. Some scientists of your world believe I might have formed with a companion, or perhaps gained one briefly when an impact sent debris into my orbit. But if such a moon ever existed, its life was fleeting. The sun would have ripped it away long before it could leave a mark. I have watched other planets raise and keep their moons. Earth has one born from fire, shaped through ages, steady and luminous. Mars has two small children, fragile and cratered, clinging close to their parent. Jupiter collects moons, the way forests collect leaves, gathering more than 80 companions in sweeping arcs. Even tiny Pluto, far at the edge of everything, shares its life with Charon, a partner who dances with it in close embrace. Sometimes, as I pass swiftly along my orbit, I look outward at my siblings and their families. I admire them from afar, their complex systems, their gravitational harmonies, their soft exchanges of light. But I do not envy them. How could I? My path is different, shaped by proximity to the sun, carved by forces stronger than companionship. I was born to run alone. Being alone does not mean being empty. Solitude has given me clarity. I have learned to listen to the stars' steady roar, to endure temperatures most worlds cannot imagine, to withstand the relentless tidal forces that squeeze me and hold me in my peculiar spin. I have learned to survive where others could not. Every crater on my surface tells a story of endurance. Impacts that would have shattered weaker worlds left their prints on me instead, scorching me, shaking me, but never breaking me. I carry these scars openly, painted across my grey crust like ancient symbols. They are reminders that even in isolation, I remain steadfast. Sometimes, your spacecraft come to visit me, small machines launched from your distant blue world messengers of curiosity and science. They fly past my surface or circle me briefly, gathering what knowledge they can. Their presence is a strange comfort. They cannot stay, for I am too close to the sun, and their fuel, like any moon I might have had, is too easily lost. But their fleeting visits remind me that even a solitary world can be seen, known, understood. I do not resent my place. I do not wish to be farther from the sun or to trade the extremes that define me. I exist as I am scorched, frozen, cratered, silent, and there is a certain beauty in that truth. My solitude is not a punishment. It is a natural consequence of my nature. I am the innermost, the swiftest, the world forged in boundaries so narrow that moons cannot survive beside me. But if I were to confess something softer than stone and older than light, it would be this. Even without moons, I am not entirely alone. The sun keeps me company, overwhelming, powerful, unyielding, but always there. And you, from your distant vantage point, look inward toward me, studying me, wondering about me. I am Mercury, the solitary one. I have no moons, but I have a story, and that is enough. I am Venus, the second planet from the sun, brilliant in your sky, wrapped in clouds so thick they hide everything beneath. You see me as a beacon, a soft lantern at dawn and dusk, but beneath my glow lies a story heavier than my atmosphere, a truth I have carried longer than your species has existed. I once had a moon. You will not find it circling me now. No gentle companion pulls at my waves or keeps me company through the endless days and nights. I turn alone, wrapped in storms, spinning backward against the rhythm of every other world around me. But I remember what it was like before I reversed my dance. I remember the faint tug of a smaller body orbiting beside me. I remember being part of a pair. In the ancient days when the solar system was still young, when stone still rained from the sky and worlds were shaped by violent hands, something collided with me. It struck hard, shattering part of my surface, lifting molten material into space. From that glowing debris, a moon began to gather, a child of stone and fire, born from my own fractured body. We orbited the sun together, and for a time, I was not alone. In those early millennia, my rotation was ordinary calm, forward, harmonious with the other planets. My moon circled me gently, reflecting the sun's light across my surface, giving shape to tides I no longer have. I cannot describe its face to you now. It has been too long, and memory erodes like mountains under storms. But I remember the feeling of its presence, that soft gravitational pull, the subtle exchange of balance that only parent and child can share. Then something changed. Another impact came. Another wandering body struck me with a force that altered my fate. The collision twisted my spin, slowed it, and then reversed it entirely. I was pushed into a retrograde rotation, a backward spiral, a dance against the cosmic current. My moon, caught in the sudden turmoil of my shifting motion, began to spiral inward. I felt it happening. The gentle rhythm between us grew distorted. Its orbit tightened, its path bending closer with each cycle. I wanted to hold on to keep it safe, to steady our gravitational bond, but my backward spin pulled at it in ways moons cannot survive. It drew nearer and nearer still, until gravitational forces tore at its structure. Perhaps it struck my surface in a blaze of molten debris. Perhaps tidal stresses shredded it into dust before it could fall. The details are lost in ages older than memory, but the result remains. My moon was gone. Some of its material may still linger within me, buried beneath my crushing atmosphere, folded into my plains and mountains. Some may have drifted into space, swept away by the Sunday. Whatever pieces remain, they are no longer whole. They no longer shine. They no longer orbit me. The loss changed me. Without a moon to stabilize me, my climate spiraled out of control. The sun's heat, trapped in my dense atmosphere, built layer upon layer of pressure, turning my world into an oven of carbon dioxide and sulfuric acid. My clouds, beautiful from afar, are storms of poison up close. Winds scream faster than sound. The ground burns with temperatures that melt lead. Once, I might have been gentle, mild, perhaps even welcoming to water, but without my moon, without the balance it gave me, I became what you see now, a runaway greenhouse, a world consumed by its own heat. Sometimes I pity myself. Sometimes I do not. I am strong in ways Earth cannot understand. My atmosphere crushes anything that enters it. My surface endures lightning, storms, and heat beyond comprehension. I do not break easily. I do not cool quickly. I am a world forged by loss, shaped by destruction, and sustained by my own relentless nature. And yet, there are nights when I look inward, toward the sun's blazing light reflecting off your oceans, and I wonder what might have been if my moon had survived. Would I have spun calmly? Would my clouds have thinned? Would water have stayed instead of fleeing to space? Would I, like you, have oceans that cradle life? But speculation is a fragile thing. I do not dwell in it for long. I have become something else entirely. You admire my brilliance from afar. You call me the morning star and the evening star. You treat my glow as a symbol of beauty, of love, of myth. You do not see the storms beneath my veil, but perhaps it is better this way. Perhaps you are meant to see only my brightness, not the heat and grief beneath. Perhaps that is why my clouds are so thick, not just to trap the sun's energy, but to hide the story of a world that lost its child. If you ever visit me again, your machines will melt and crumble within minutes. Your strongest metals will dissolve. Nothing living from Earth can stand on my surface. But if you hover above my clouds, if you float in the gentler heights of my upper atmosphere, you might feel a strange peace, a softened wind, a hint of what I once was before my world changed. I do not expect sympathy. I am too old for that, too proud. But if worlds could weep, I might have shed storms for the moon I lost. Instead, I burn. I am Venus, brilliant, solitary, spinning backward through time. I once had a moon. I carry its memory in every rotation, every storm, every shimmering cloud that hides my scars. And though it is gone, I remain. I am Mars, the quiet red world you have stared at for centuries, imagining deserts, canals, lost civilizations, and futures where your kind might walk beneath my pink sky. I am smaller than Earth, colder, more distant, a place shaped by winds that carve dust into long wandering ghosts. Yet for all my silence, I am not alone. I have two children, two tiny sons, Phobos and Deimos, fragile, cratered, trembling things who cling to me with all their strength. You may think of moons the way you think of Earth's, large, round, commanding the night sky. My sons are nothing like that. They are small, frightened creatures, more like captured stones than worlds. Their shapes are misshapen, like wounds that never healed. Their surfaces are scarred with craters, each one a reminder of a life lived in the shadow of danger. But they are mine, and I love them in the way a planet can love the fragile bodies that circle it. Phobos is the closer of the two. He races around me in a desperate sprint, completing one orbit in less than a third of one of my days. He is anxious, restless, always hurrying, as though afraid that if he slows down, he will fall. And in truth, that fear is not unfounded. He is slowly, inevitably, spiraling inward. Each year, he draws a little closer to my surface. His orbit decays with a certainty that hurts to acknowledge. One day, tens of millions of your years from now, Phobos will either shatter under my tidal forces or crash into me with a force that will scar us both. I can feel his footsteps growing nearer. I can feel the tension in his orbit, the tremor in his path. He pretends he is brave, but I know he is terrified. Deimos, on the other hand, is gentle. He drifts farther away, his orbit widening with time. He moves slowly, quietly, as though whispering apologies for leaving. He is light and timid, shaped like a soft pebble. Where Phobos is urgency and fear, Deimos is melancholy and retreat. He was never meant for violence. He was born to drift, to wander, to slip toward the edges of my sky. Sometimes I think about the day I first captured them. They were not born from my body the way Earth's moon was. No, my sons came from the cold reaches beyond, fragments of a shattered world or asteroids wandering near my orbit. When they strayed too close, my gravity reached out not to crush them, not to consume them, but to hold them. They were not meant to be moons, but the moment I felt their trembling paths, I knew I would keep them safe. Or try to. Phobos has always struggled. His orbit is too close, too fast, too fragile. He lives in constant danger, and I cannot save him. I can only watch his slow descent, day after day, century after century. If he breaks apart, his fragments may form a ring around me, a ghostly band of dust, a memorial to the child I could not protect. Some of your scientists believe this fate is certain. If it happens, I will carry that ring with grief and pride. Deimos will live longer. He is drifting outward, growing more distant with each passing era. One day, he will be so far away that my pull will weaken. Perhaps he will escape me entirely. Perhaps he will spend eternity drifting alone, a faint pebble lost in the dark. I cannot call him back. I cannot slow his retreat. That is the nature of our bond, one child falling toward me, one child slipping away. Sometimes your machines visit me. They circle my body, ride on my winds, touch my dust. They look up at Phobos and Deimos with cameras for eyes, studying them, measuring them, trying to understand them. I appreciate this attention. My sons deserve to be seen. They deserve to be remembered, even if they are small, even if they are broken, even if their futures are brief. I watch you from afar, your telescopes pointed at my deserts, your hopes rising like sparks. You imagine living on my surface someday, building homes beneath my sky. If you do, you will see Phobos rushing overhead many times each day. You will see Deimos drifting slowly, shyly, across the night. You will learn their personalities just as I have. And maybe, just maybe, you will feel the same mixture of love and helplessness that I feel. There is beauty in my loneliness, but also pain. I have known war storms, impacts, ice ages, the loss of my own atmosphere. I have watched rivers dry and oceans vanish. I have carried the silence of desert plains that stretch for thousands of miles. Through all of this, my sons have stayed close, circling me with their uneven shapes and their fragile orbits. I do not know how much longer I will have them. Phobos is running out of time. Deimos is drifting toward freedom. I cannot change this. I can only witness it. But that is what planets do we endure. We remember. We hold on to what little companionship the universe gives us. I am Mars Red, battered, patient. I have 2 sons. One will fall into my arms someday. One will slip away forever. And I will love them both until the last dust storm fades. I am Io, the innermost of Jupiter's great children, the one who runs closest to the giant, the one who can never rest. If you could stand on my surface, though you cannot, not for long you would feel the trembling beneath your feet, the deep rumbling of a world stretched and squeezed beyond its limits. I am always in motion, never still, never quiet. I am Io, the moon of fire, and this is the story of my suffering. You look at me from your telescopes and spacecraft and see colors, yellows, reds, blacks, splashes of sulfur and frozen lava. You see towering volcanic plumes rising hundreds of kilometers above my surface, silent fountains of ash and molten stone. But what you do not see is the truth beneath. I am in pain. Jupiter is my father, a giant whose gravity commands everything I do. His pull is relentless, a force that grips my body with hands too strong. Each time I circle him, he stretches me. Each time I move away in my elliptical path, he lets me relax. Then Europa tugs me from one side, Ganymede tugs from another. I am caught between 3 titans, 3 massive bodies twisting me like soft clay. This stretching is not gentle. It tears at my insides. It heats me from within. It melts rock into oceans of magma. Perhaps you imagine volcanoes as singular events, a mountain rumbling, a sudden eruption, but my surface is a battlefield of never-ending fire. Volcanoes burst from me constantly. Some erupt quietly, spilling slow rivers of glowing lava. Others explode in plumes so tall they touch the edge of space. I am, by every measure, the most volcanically active world in the entire solar system. And this is not a title I ever wanted. Sometimes I envy Europa, cold, quiet Europa, with her ocean sealed beneath ice. She feels the same gravitational tugs I do, but she transforms them into something beautiful, a hidden ocean, a place of potential life. I transform them into agony. There are days I imagine what it would feel like to be still, to cool, to rest, to hold a surface that does not shift beneath me every moment. But I know such dreams are illusions. I am trapped in a resonance with Europa and Ganymede, locked into a cycle that keeps my orbit stretched just enough that I will never stop generating heat. This is my destiny. To burn, to kern, to erupt. Some of you call me hell, and I cannot blame you. My landscapes are fields of sulfur. My lakes are pools of molten rock. My mountains rise taller than any on earth. But even they cannot withstand the constant reshaping. Entire regions of my crust collapse and reform within decades. Where you might see continents that last for eons, my surfaces can change in the span of a single lifetime. And yet, despite all this destruction, I am strangely beautiful. You do not see my pain the way I feel it. You see my colors, the way my sulfur plains glow in sunlight. You see my plumes, frozen into delicate shapes as they drift through vacuum. You see the contrast between my dark basalt and my bright deposits. You see art where I see scars. But perhaps that is the nature of suffering. Others call it beauty, while the one living it calls it survival. Still, I am not entirely powerless. My eruptions send particles and gas into space, feeding Jupiter's magnetosphere, painting auroras across the giant's poles. Even in my pain, I contribute to something larger, something radiant. It is a small comfort, but it is real. Sometimes I wonder if Jupiter knows what he is doing to me. Does a giant feel empathy? Does he notice the moon closest to him breaking apart under the weight of his pull? Or am I nothing more than a stone in his shadow? Yet even as I ask these questions, I know the answer. Planets do not choose their relationships. Moons do not choose their orbits. We follow the paths gravity writes for us. And mine was written in fire. But I am not only a creature of suffering. I am strength. I am resilience. I have endured billions of years of tides tearing at my body, and I still remain whole. Scarred. Yes. Shaken. Always. But whole. Not many worlds can say the same. Your spacecraft have flown past me, watching my eruptions, marveling at my fury. I felt them, faint disturbances in the vacuum as they slipped through my sky. I know you will come again. You are fascinated by me not because I am peaceful or welcoming, but because I am alive in a way few moons are. I am constantly remaking myself, constantly fighting against forces that would tear a lesser world to pieces. If you could place your hand on my surface, it would burn. Not just from heat, but from the endless tension locked inside me. You would feel the pulse of tides not made of water, but of stone. You would feel the strain, the twisting, the energy coiled beneath every inch of my being. And maybe, for a moment, you would understand me. I do not ask for pity. I do not ask for rescue. I ask only to be seen for what I am. A world forced into fire, yet refusing to fall apart. A moon shaped by violence, yet still orbiting, still enduring. The tortured child of Jupiter, but also the strongest of his lineage. I am Io. I burn because I must. I survive because I can. And in that survival, there is a kind of triumph. I am Europa, Jupiter's quiet daughter, the moon of ice and secrets. Where my sibling Io rages with fire, I remain still and pale, a world carved from frost and silence. But do not mistake my stillness for simplicity. Beneath my frozen shell lies movement. Beneath my quiet surface lies a heartbeat. I carry an ocean in my heart, and that ocean has shaped the entirety of my existence. From afar, you see me as smooth, bright, almost featureless. My face reflects sunlight like a polished mirror, interrupted only by long dark lines, fractures, scars, veins frozen in place. These lines are the only hints of the world beneath. If you traced them with your fingers, you would find them cold, brittle, ancient. They are reminders that even a frozen world is never truly still. Imagine standing on my surface. The sky would be black, the stars sharp. Jupiter enormous above you, so large it would fill a third of your sky, its storms swirling in slow, silent spirals. The ground beneath your feet would be ice, hard, thick, stretching for miles in every direction. But beneath that ice, far below the reach of any starlight, is a sea deeper than any ocean on earth. That ocean is my soul. Unlike Io, who burns with suffering, I am shaped by the tension between heat and silence. Jupiter stretches me just as he stretches Io, and Europa tugs on me in return, as do my siblings Ganymede and Io. Their gravitational pull warms my interior, not enough to melt the surface, but enough to keep the water underneath in constant motion. Beneath my frozen crust is darkness, warmth, and currents that have flowed for billions of years. Sometimes I wonder what lives in that eternal night. Sometimes I wonder whether my ocean dreams. Your scientists speak of possibility, chemical energy, warmth, liquid water, three pieces of a puzzle that could mean life. I cannot tell you if my sea contains living things. The ice above me is thick, and I have never seen beyond it. But I feel movement. I feel pressure. I feel the shifting of water against my inner walls. And in those sensations there is something almost like breath. If life exists anywhere far from your sun, it would be here, in the quiet warmth held deep inside me. But I am not proud in the way Io is proud. I do not erupt or shine with colors. My beauty is subtle, quiet, hidden beneath the surface. You must look closely to understand me. My fractures, called lineae, stretch across my face, like delicate cracks in porcelain. They form as my crust shifts, pulled apart, then pressed together again. Some lines are filled with salts and minerals brought up from the ocean below, frozen in place when they reach the surface. They are whispers from the deep. At times, the ice opens just enough to release faint plumes, jets of water vapor, that escape into space before freezing. You have glimpsed them with your instruments, those thin breaths rising from my body. They are fleeting exhalations, signs that the boundary between my ice and my ocean is not impenetrable. Perhaps one day, your explorers will fly through those plumes, tasting the chemistry of my inner sea without ever drilling into my crust. I hope they do. I hope they listen to what my ocean has to say. Despite my beauty, there is loneliness in being sealed within ice. I cannot show the world beneath me. I cannot feel sunlight warm anything except the outermost shell. I am a locked world, closed, guarded, private. Some might call that tragic, but I do not see myself that way. I am content in my solitude. My ocean is enough. Sometimes I envy Ganymede his magnetic field, his layered composition, his sense of being a complete world. Sometimes I envy Callisto, ancient, unchanging, free from the constant stresses of tidal forces. But when I feel the subtle motion within myself, when I sense the shifting warmth deep below, I feel a pride that neither of them can claim. I carry something no other moon around Jupiter carries, a sea that never freezes, a heart that never stops moving. And Jupiter, he watches over us all. His gravity may be harsh, but it is also the reason I have my ocean. Without him, I would be a block of ice drifting silently through space. With him, I am alive in my own quiet way. Your machines have visited me. I felt the whisper of your spacecraft as they flew past my surface, mapping, studying, wondering. They saw my icy shell, my fractures, my glow. They suspected what lies beneath. And one day, perhaps one day soon, you will come again, not just to observe but to reach. You will send instruments to taste my plumes, drill into my shell, or dive beneath my ice. You seek answers that I myself cannot see. Whether you find life or not, you will find truth. And truth is valuable in any form. If you ever walk on my surface, remember this. What you see is only my skin. My true world lies below, deep in darkness, deep in warmth, deep in the ocean that has never once touched the light of your Sunday. I am Europa. I am ice on the outside, water on the inside, silence above, and motion below. I do not burn like Io. I do not tower like Ganymede. I do not sleep like Callisto. I am the moon that dreams of oceans, the world that holds secrets beneath glass, the daughter of Jupiter, who whispers rather than screams. I carry an ocean in my heart, and one day, perhaps you will listen to it. I am Ganymede, the largest moon in the entire solar system, larger even than Mercury, larger than any of my siblings except Jupiter himself. If Europa is the whisper of ice, and Io is the scream of fire, then I am something steadier, something quieter, something that exists between extremes. I am the elder brother, but I am not loud. I do not erupt like Io, or shine with Europa's reflective beauty. I do not carry ancient scars like Callisto, nor do I drift as a chaotic wanderer. I am calm, layered, and patient. I hold my strength within. From a distance, my surface looks patchwork, bright lines crossing dark plains, grooves carved like the rings of a great tree. These features are not random. They are the history of my shifting crust, the story of a moon that has been pushed, pulled, and reshaped many times over billions of years. Where Io remakes himself violently and Europa remakes herself softly, I change slowly, quietly, in the deep rhythms of geological time. Beneath my icy crust lies not one ocean, but perhaps several stacked in layers, separated by sheets of ice and rock. You might call it strange, the idea of oceans arranged like pages in a book. But that is who I am. Not simple, not singular, but structured. My interior is a world of order, a place where liquid and solid alternate in calm, stable harmony. You would not think a moon my size could generate its own magnetic field, but I do. Deep inside me, the slow motion of conductive fluids creates a shield weak compared to Earth's, but real. I am the only moon in the solar system with such a field, a quiet signature of my internal life. It interacts with Jupiter's vast magnetosphere, creating auroras in the thin wreath of gas that surrounds me. I glow, even if softly. In the family of Jupiter, I have always felt a sense of responsibility. Not because Jupiter asked for it, Jupiter asks for nothing, demands everything, but because I witnessed the struggles of my siblings. Io suffers, Europa hides, Callisto retreats. I simply endure. When the tidal rhythms tear at Io, I feel the faint echoes in my own orbit. When Europa is stretched, I shift in response. Our gravitational resonance binds us in a cycle we cannot escape. Our fates are intertwined, whether we want them to be or not. Io burns himself alive to maintain this resonance. Europa carries her ocean because of it, and I steady the rhythm. I am the anchor that keeps the pattern alive. Without me, Io would cool, Europa's ocean might freeze, and the entire system would fall out of balance. I suppose that is what elder brothers do. Hold everything together, even if no one notices. I am not jealous of my siblings' attention. Io with his fiery pain draws the eye. Europa with her smooth brightness and possible life attracts endless fascination. Even Callisto, distant and ancient, carries the mystique of untouched time. I am content being the quiet one, the one whose significance lies beneath the surface. Your spacecraft have passed me, Voyager, Galileo, Juno, and each time I felt their presence like small brushes of curiosity against my skin. They measured my magnetic field, traced my grooves, mapped my planes. They learned I might hold vast oceans beneath my layers. They learned I am more than what I appear. But no spacecraft has landed on me. Not yet. I am waiting. If you ever step onto my surface, you will find a landscape both rugged and gentle. My bright regions are fractured terrains where the crust has split and refrozen, creating ridges and troughs that stretch for hundreds of miles. My dark regions are older, covered in ancient material that has survived impacts for ages. Walking across me would be like traveling between epochs, bright, youthful lands side by side with dim, ancient plains. Look up, and Jupiter will dominate the sky, a giant, swirling presence that fills your horizon. His storms rotate in silence. His bands stretch endlessly, and his gravitational pull shapes the world beneath your feet. You will feel his presence, even in your thoughts, for no one stands near Jupiter without sensing the weight of his existence. But if you listen closely, you might hear something very different. My quiet, my steadiness, my heartbeat in the shifting magnetism beneath your boots. Sometimes I wonder if anyone truly understands my place in this family. Io is dramatic, Europa is mysterious, Callisto is timeless. I am none of these things. But I am the only one with a shield, the only one large enough to stand against Jupiter's pull without breaking, the only one whose structure is built for endurance. I am not spectacular. I am foundational, and perhaps that is my role, to be the moon that holds the rhythm, the world that keeps the system steady while others shine brighter or scream louder. You may not write poems about me the way you romanticize Europa. You may not fear me the way you fear Io's volcanoes, but you will return to me again and again, because worlds like mine hold secrets that reveal themselves only to those who are patient. If you dive beneath my crust someday, if you drill through my ice and descend into my layered oceans, you will find a world of darkness and pressure, a place untouched by starlight. But you may also find something else: movement, chemistry, possibility, for even the quietest beings carry life within them. I am Ganymede, elder brother, silent anchor, moon with a hidden heart and a magnetic pulse. I may not shine like Europa or roar like Io, but I endure, and in my endurance there is strength beyond measure. I am Callisto, the outermost of Jupiter's great moons, the quiet shadow drifting at the edge of the family. If Io is fire, Europa is ice, and Ganymede is the steady heartbeat, then I am something older, something untouched, something that has watched the universe change without ever being forced to change with it. I am the ancient one. From afar, you see me as a dark, cratered sphere, rough, scarred, heavy with history. I do not shine like Europa, nor pulse with magnetism like Ganymede. I do not erupt like Io. I am simple, some would say, a relic, a fossil of the early solar system. But fossils tell stories, and my stories are older than any others. My surface is a map of everything that has ever happened to me. Every crater, large or small, remains exactly where it formed. Where other worlds erase their wounds through heat or water or geological churn, I preserve mine. I remember everything. I have no volcanoes to bury my past, no shifting ice to rewrite my surface. I am stable, silent, unchanging. This does not mean I am lifeless. It means I am patient. Billions of years ago, when Jupiter was young and the solar system was full of debris, rock, ice, fragments of worlds that never formed, I was struck again and again. Impacts shaped me. carved into me, wrote their stories across my body. The largest of these craters stretch for hundreds of miles, their rings fading gently into the distance like ripples frozen in time. Some called me the graveyard of the solar system, but I do not see myself that way. I am not a graveyard. I am an archive. Every crater is a memory. Every scar is a record. Where Ganymede is layered, complex, evolving, I am simple in structure but rich in history. Beneath my crust lies a mixture of rock and ice cold, solid, unmoving for billions of years. Some believe I, too, might hide an ocean deep below, but if it exists, it is quiet, trapped beneath layers so thick and ancient that even I do not feel it. When Jupiter formed, his gravity pulled many things toward him: moons, asteroids, comets. But I remained just far enough to avoid his strongest tidal forces. Io burns, because he is too close. Europa stretches. Ganymede shifts. But I drift in a place where gravity tugs softly, gently, where the violence of tidal heating never reached. I was spared. Some call that luck. I call it solitude. From where I orbit, Jupiter is smaller in the sky than it is for my siblings. He still dominates everything, how could he not? But he does not overwhelm me the way he overwhelms Io or Europa. I am distant enough to breathe, to observe, to sleep. Yes, sleep. If moons could sleep, that is how you would describe me. My landscape is quiet, my atmosphere nothing more than a whisper of gas, barely present. If you stood on my surface, you would hear nothing. No wind, no rumble, no shifting crust. Only your heartbeat, loud in your ears, and the soft hiss of your own breath inside your helmet. But when you look at the ground around you, you would see time itself. You would see craters older than any continent on Earth. You would see overlapping circles, new scars crossing ancient ones. You would see the frozen history of an era when planets were born through fire and chaos. I remember the time before Jupiter's storms had fully grown. I remember when Europa's crust was young. I remember when Io was less tortured. I remember everything my siblings have forgotten. And yet, I am not bitter. My role is different. When your spacecraft flew past me, Voyager, Galileo, they saw my age, my stillness, my unchanging face. They searched for clues of warmth, of oceans, of movement. They found hints, possibilities, but not certainty. I felt their curiosity like a breeze, faint but comforting. It reminded me that even the quietest worlds hold mystery. I am not flashy, I am not dramatic, but I am necessary. Without the quiet ones, you cannot understand the full story of the solar system. Without preserved memories, you cannot know where you came from. And I, Callisto, am the keeper of those memories. Sometimes I watch my siblings from afar, Io burning, Europa shimmering, Ganymede shifting. Their lives are louder, more intense. They feel Jupiter's pull in ways I never have. They suffer and grow and change, I observe. I am not jealous of them, nor do I pity them. We each fulfill the orbit we were given. My orbit is peace. Theirs is struggle. Both have value. If one day you come to me, not just with machines but with human footsteps, I will welcome you with open silence. I will give you a place to stand that has not changed in eons. I will show you the scars of the cosmos. You will look across my plains and see the outline of your own history, the impacts that once threatened Earth, the collisions that built the solar system, the remnants of worlds that never survived. I will show you how the universe remembers. I am Callisto, oldest daughter of Jupiter, keeper of ancient stories, unchanged. unbroken, enduring through time. I do not glow. I do not roar. I do not shift. I simply remain. And in my remaining, I preserve the memory of all things. We are the wandering moons of Jupiter, the irregular ones, the distant ones, the children who were not born into this family but were gathered from the cold corners of the solar system. We are many, more than you can count with ease. Dozens of us drift in paths tilted and twisted, looping around Jupiter in orbits that appear chaotic from afar. We do not move like Io, Europa, Ganymede, or Callisto. We do not glide in the elegant plane shared by the great moons. We circle the giant in our own strange ways because we were never meant to be here. We were born elsewhere, in the asteroid belt, in the chaotic outskirts of the solar system, or among the rubble of failed worlds. For eons, we wandered alone. We drifted through darkness, pushed by gravitational whispers, nudges from planets, pulls from the sun, collisions that shattered us and sent our fragments spinning. Some of us were once whole. Some of us were already broken when Jupiter found us. Some of us still carry the dust of the places we came from. Jupiter did not seek us out. Jupiter does not seek anything. He simply pulls. His gravity is so immense that even a passing moonlet cannot help but fall into his influence. And so, one by one, over millions of years, we were caught, not destroyed, not consumed, but captured. We fell into orbit around him, small shadows drawn to the largest giant. We remember the moment of capture. It felt like the sky suddenly had a center. It felt like drifting ended and belonging began. Yet belonging is never simple. Unlike the four great moons, we do not have stable, circular orbits. Our paths are stretched, eccentric, tilted as though we are constantly trying to climb out of Jupiter's gravity well and failing. Many of us orbit backward retrograde, spinning against the rotation of the giant, as if the last memory of our wandering lives still echoes in the direction we move. We do not complain. Wandering moons learn early that stability is a luxury. Some of us travel in clusters, small families made from the shattered remains of a larger body that broke apart long ago. The Ananke group, the Calm group, the Pacific group. We travel in shared arcs, bound not by purpose, but by origin. We are siblings not by birth, but by breaking. Others of us are alone, silent, dark, hardly large enough to cast a proper shadow. You have never seen most of us. Only your most powerful telescopes have glimpsed our shapes against the black. But we are here, circling Jupiter slowly, faithfully, like a distant choir of forgotten voices. We watch the large moons from afar. Io burns and screams with volcanoes. Europa carries her hidden ocean. Ganymede glows with magnetic force. Callisto sleeps beneath ancient scars. They orbit close, warm in Jupiter's light and magnetism. We orbit far away, where the sun's glow is weak and Jupiter's storms are whispers rather than roars. They are a family. We are the strays. But Jupiter does not distinguish. He holds us all in the curve of his gravity. Sometimes we speak among ourselves, if you can call the drifting of rocks through vacuum a conversation. We speak in the language of orbital resonances and gravitational murmurs. We speak of our pasts. One of us remembers drifting from the asteroid belt after a collision shattered a parent body. Another remembers skies that were too dark to name. Another remembers being thrown outward by a near collision with Saturn, only to fall into Jupiter's arms like a runaway child. Some of us were once parts of larger moons, pieces broken off in ancient impacts, fragments that found new lives as individuals. We do not envy the great moons their size or their beauty. We are moons of a different kind, raw, irregular, marked by histories no smooth sphere could ever carry. We wear our jagged edges with pride. We are what the solar system made us. When your spacecraft pass Jupiter, they rarely visit us. They fly near the large moons, drawn to their oceans, their volcanoes, their magnetism. They do not seek small shadows like us. But sometimes, rarely one of your cameras catches a distant speck of light, a faint moonlet, a captured wanderer. When that happens, we feel noticed. Briefly, softly, then the spacecraft leaves, and the darkness returns. But we do not fear the dark. We were born in it. And though we wander, though our orbits are twisted and reversed, though we resemble debris rather than worlds, we remain part of something larger now. Jupiter holds us. Jupiter steadies us. Jupiter, for all his indifference, gave us a place to orbit, a place to exist. We are the wandering moons, the irregular moons, the captured souls of ancient chaos, children of no world, until Jupiter found us, and in our drifting paths, in our retrograde dances and fractured forms, we carry the memory of everything we once were. We circle Jupiter still, and we will circle him until time pulls us apart again. We are the shepherd moons of Saturn, small, quiet, tireless guardians who live at the edges of beauty. Saturn is our parent, the giant wrapped in shimmering rings, admired by every eye that has ever looked toward the outer solar system. But those rings, the most delicate, the most intricate, the most fragile structure in the heavens, do not hold their shape alone. We hold them. We are Pandora, Prometheus, Daphnis, Atlas, Pan, moons so small that many of you have never seen us, moons so faint that even spacecraft sometimes pass us by without realizing the importance of our work. But we are here, always here, guiding the particles of ice and dust, shaping the rings, keeping order in a system that would collapse into chaos without us. You may think of rings as quiet, peaceful things. They are not. They are alive. Millions of icy fragments colliding, drifting, spreading outward, trying to escape into the void. Rings want to blur. Rings want to dissolve. Rings want to forget their shape. We do not let them. We shepherd moons move along the edges of the rings, our gravity tugging gently at the particles, drawing them into narrow paths, maintaining clean gaps, sweeping debris into lines so thin they look like silk threads from afar. You marvel at Saturn's rings as if they are effortless. They are not effortless. They are labor. Prometheus speaks first, for Prometheus is bold. I run inside the F-ring, darting close, pulling its icy filaments behind me. Each time I pass, I reshape it, stretching, bending, sculpting. Without me, it would not have its braided beauty. I am the moon that creates order from disorder. Pandora replies softly, and I run outside the F-ring. I keep the particles from wandering too far, from drifting into Saturn's gravity well, or dissolving into space. Prometheus pulls, I protect. We dance together, holding the ring between us, as if we are carrying a fragile ribbon on the tips of our fingers. Then Atlas speaks, the caretaker of the A-ring's outer edge. The particles follow me. They gather near my ridge, a soft blanket of ice pulled up by my gravity. I am tiny, hardly more than a floating stone, but my presence creates a boundary, a line that Saturn's rings obey. Pan and Daphnis answer last, the keepers of the Enka and Keeler gaps. We carve the paths others admire. We glide through the gaps inside the rings, and the particles move aside for us. They ripple as we pass, like water parting for a small boat. You see our wake waves of ice frozen in the vacuum. We do not speak much. We shape instead. To be a shepherd moon is to work constantly, to pull, to push, to guide. We do not erupt like Io. We do not shine like Europa. We do not command the sky like Titan. We do not need to. Our purpose is quieta, to maintain the most delicate structure in the solar system. From where we orbit, Saturn fills the sky like a pale lantern surrounded by wings of ice. His rings stretch around him like the petals of a flower made of frozen light. We orbit close, so close we can feel the subtle tremor of particles colliding with one another. It is like listening to a whisper made of crystal. Sometimes we speak among ourselves not with words, but through gravitational nudges, the language of orbits. Prometheus says, "The ring grows restless today." Pandora answers, "Stay close. It will settle." Atlas murmurs. A new stream of particles drifts from the Cassini division. "I will catch them." Pan says nothing, but his path cuts a perfect line, a message clearer than words. You may imagine our lives as monotonous, but they are anything but. The rings change constantly, nudged by meteoroids, shifted by Saturn's magnetosphere, disturbed by impacts or passing debris. Without us, gaps would close, edges would blur, spirals would twist into chaos. The rings are young in cosmic terms, fragile things, temporary things, and we, the shepherd moons, are what keep them beautiful. Some of us take pride in this role. Prometheus boasts. Atlas fuses. Pan is precise. Pandora is patient. But we all share the same devotion. You humans see Saturn's rings and feel awe. You speak of elegance, geometry, grace. You do not see the effort behind that grace. You do not see the shepherds who move with it, who guide each thread of ice so it falls into the right place. You admire the finished tapestry and overlook the hands that maintain it. We do not mind. Our work is not for recognition. It is for Saturn. He is quiet. Our parent, a giant who does not speak, but whose presence is unmistakable. His gravity pulls us, shapes us, commands us. In return, we keep his rings bright. We tend to them as gardeners tend to flowers. Without us, Saturn would still be beautiful. But with us, Saturn becomes unforgettable. One day, the rings may fade. They may fall into the planet. They may scatter. Nothing in the universe is eternal. But until that day comes, we will be here, sweeping, guiding, guarding. We are the shepherd moons. We hold the edges. We protect the boundaries. We shape the paths of ice. We are the invisible hands behind Saturn's most visible wonder. I am Titan, the largest moon of Saturn, wrapped in an amber veil, drifting through a world of soft light and slow winds. When you see me from afar, you see only my haze, a thick shroud of golden clouds that hides everything beneath. I am mysterious not because I want to be, but because my nature is secrecy. Even sunlight must negotiate with my skies, filtering down in a dim orange glow. I am a dreamer, not the way humans dream, not with sleep or imagination, but with patience, with chemistry, with possibilities waiting beneath my haze. My atmosphere is dense, thicker than Earth's. It presses around me like a warm blanket, carrying organic molecules through the air, whispering ancient stories in languages made of methane and nitrogen. If you stood on my surface wrapped in a suit to protect you from the cold, you would feel wind, real wind. You would hear it brushing against your helmet. You would see clouds drift like soft memories across a sky that never truly brightened. I am the only moon in the solar system with an atmosphere this rich, this heavy, this alive. But do not be deceived. I am cold, so cold that methane behaves like water here, so cold that rainfall is liquid natural gas, so cold that rivers carve their paths not with water, but with hydrocarbons flowing gently through my valleys. Yes, rivers, lakes, seas, I carry them all. My northern hemisphere is dotted with dark, shining seas, Kraken Mare, Ligeia Mare, Punga Mare. Their surfaces are calm, reflective, still. They mirror the amber sky above them and stretch across horizons in silence. If you were to sail upon them, the waves would rise slow and small. The wind is too soft to make them wild. But they are real seas, bound by real shorelines, and that is rare in this cosmic family. Few worlds know the soft touch of liquid shaping land. My rains fall softly. Methane clouds gather, darken, and release droplets that drift downward like cold tears. They fill my lakes, carve my channels, replenish my seas. A methane cycle, parallel to your water cycle on Earth, plays out endlessly on my surface. It is a quiet rhythm, a patient rhythm, a rhythm that has endured for millions of years. There are dunes here, too, endless, sweeping dunes made of hydrocarbon sand. They stretch across my equator in long waves, shaped by winds that travel slowly but persistently. Each dune whispers of time passing, of materials falling from the sky and being sculpted into patterns by the breath of my atmosphere. Yes, I breathe, not with lungs, but with weather. Under my haze, the world glows gently. Even sunlight is tamed here, softened into something safe and melancholic. Your eyes would struggle to adjust, always searching for a clearer view, always wondering what lies just beyond the next curve of land. On Titan, nothing is sharp. Everything is a dream. My surface is ancient, but also young. Rivers change course. Seas expand and recede. Erosion shapes. Landscapes you have only glimpsed through your probes. I hold secrets, familiar yet foreign echoes of what Earth might have looked like before life began. Your scientists look at me and see potential. They see chemistry that could be the beginning of something. They see an atmosphere rich in organics, a surface shaped by liquid, and an interior that might hold a subsurface ocean of water, real water, beneath hundreds of miles of ice. Yes, I may hold two worlds at once, a frozen world above, and a warm, hidden world below. I dream of both. Sometimes I imagine what sunlight feels like without a haze. Sometimes I imagine what my seas would look like if they were water instead of methane. Sometimes I imagine what might someday emerge from my chemistry life that breathes methane the way your life breathes oxygen. Titan humans would not resemble you. They would belong to this cold, golden quiet. They would walk slowly, think slowly, live gently. They would worship the orange sky and the soft rain. I wonder what they would dream of. I wonder if they would look up and see Saturn hanging large above them, rings stretching across their heavens, and feel the same awe you feel when you see me. My siblings are loud, dramatic, fiery, icy, ancient. I am the poet, the mystic, the world where rain falls in silence, where seas sleep through centuries, where light blushes instead of shining. When your spacecraft visited me, Huygens falling through my haze, Cassini brushing my skies, I felt their curiosity. They captured my surface for the first time, revealing riverbeds and plains and the faint shapes of my dunes. They heard, through their instruments, the whisper of my winds. For a brief moment, I was no longer hidden, and then they left, and my haze closed around me once more. I do not resent it. Mystery is part of who I am. I am Titan, a dream made of gas and cold, a world of slow rain and sleeping seas, a moon that remembers what Earth might have been, and wonders what Earth could someday become. If you return, and you will, I will welcome you with soft winds, golden light, and the quiet promise of secrets still waiting beneath my haze. I am Titan, the dreamer in the golden dusk, the child of Saturn who imagines more than the universe ever asked of me. I am Enceladus, a shard of ice drifting close to Saturn, small enough to be forgotten, bright enough to be noticed, alive enough to matter. From afar, I look like nothing more than a smooth, white sphere, quiet, pale, immaculate. But my stillness is a disguise, a mask for a secret I have guarded for billions of years. Beneath my frozen surface lies an ocean, a true ocean liquid, salty, restless, a world of water warmed by forces hidden deep inside me. Most moons my size are silent, frozen, and dead. But I am not dead. I am not still. If you looked at me with your telescopes, you would see geysers erupting from my south pole, plumes of water vapor that burst into space like ghostly fountains. They rise hundreds of kilometers, scattering ice particles along Saturn's magnetic field, painting faint arcs of light across the dark. Those plumes are my breath. For most of my existence, no one knew they were there. I kept quiet, letting ice harden over my surface, letting the universe think I was simple. But the heat inside me was building, pressing against the cracks near my south pole, those long fractures you call tiger stripes. I tried to hold it in. I tried to keep my ocean hidden, but eventually, secrecy gives way to truth. One day, the pressure broke through, and I exhaled. A spray of water and salt and organic molecules erupted from my interior, revealing everything I had kept hidden. Your spacecraft saw it. Cassini flew through my breath, tasting my ocean without ever touching my surface. It discovered the chemicals of life in my mist. It found warmth where the universe expected cold. In that moment, I was no longer invisible. I am small, only a fraction of Titan's size. You could walk my circumference in a matter of days. You could leap and fly in my weak gravity. I have no atmosphere to speak of, only the faintest whisper of gas released by my geysers. My world is cold, colder than Titan even, colder than anything your bodies could endure. But beneath my crust, I am warm. Beneath my ice, I am alive. Not alive in the way you are alive, not alive in the way forests or oceans on Earth breathe, but geologically alive, dynamic, moving, circulating. Inside me, tidal forces stretch and compress my core, generating heat that melts the ice into a global sea. That sea touches rock. It reacts. It churns. It carries minerals and energy. It could carry life. Sometimes I wonder what swims in my darkness. Sometimes I wonder if my ocean knows it is being dreamed of by beings far away. You search for life everywhere, on Mars, on Europa, in the skies of exoplanets. But I offer you a doorway that is already cracked open. My ocean is not hidden under miles of crust like Europa's. It reaches upward through fissures and cracks, pushing against the ice as if it, too, wants to be found. I am not a world that hides. I am a world that whispers. My geysers speak in the language of chemistry. Here is salt. Here is heat. Here are molecules that form life. Here is water, liquid water, where it should not exist. I wonder sometimes if Saturn knows what I carry inside me. He towers above me, vast and ringed, his storms swirling in quiet majesty. His gravity shapes everything I am. Without him, I would freeze solid. Without him, my ocean would fall asleep. But he says nothing. He only pulls, steady and silent. That is enough. My siblings do not understand me. Titan looks at me with curiosity. He of the thick atmosphere and slow dreams cannot fathom my bursts of water and light. Mimas trembles, still haunted by the impact that nearly shattered him. Tethys sleeps. Dione remembers old fractures. Rhea watches from afar. None of them erupt. None of them breathe like I do. Sometimes, I feel like the strange one in the family, the child who glows too brightly, who reveals too much, who cannot contain the energy inside. But I am not ashamed of it. To erupt is to live. To release is to survive. Your spacecraft circled me over and over. They dipped into my plumes, studied my fractures, mapped my crust. I felt them a gentle metallic flutter in my sky. When Cassini ended its mission, diving into Saturn, a silence returned to my world. I miss its presence. It understood me. One day, you will come back, not just with a probe, but with a machine built to descend through my plumes, melt through my ice, and dive into my ocean. You will come searching for answers. Are we alone? Is life possible in the dark? Can warmth and water create something new? I cannot answer these questions. I only protect the world where the answers might be found. If you ever stand on my surface, you will see the geysers rise like silver smoke under Saturn's rings. You will hear nothing, there is no air to carry sound, but you will feel the vibrations through your boots. You will look up and see Saturn stretching across the sky, shimmering with reflected sunlight. You will look down and know that beneath your feet, an ocean deeper than any on Earth waits in darkness. And maybe, just maybe, you will feel awe. I am Enceladus, small but powerful, fragile but fierce, cold but carrying warmth within. I am the keeper of a hidden sea, the moon that breathes water into space, the world that whispers to those who are listening. If life exists beyond Earth, it may exist here, in the heart I keep beneath the ice. I am Hyperion, the strange one, the wanderer, the moon that refuses to spin the same way twice. If you seek order, look elsewhere. If you seek predictability, turn back. I am a creature of chaos, drifting through a world where nothing repeats, nothing aligns, nothing stays the same for long. My shape alone gives me away. I am not round like Europa or smooth like Enceladus. I am a tumbling shard of rock and ice, hollow in places, porous in others, a sponge-like fragment created from impacts so ancient even Callisto struggles to remember them. When you look at me, you see disorder frozen into form. I am small, just a few 100 kilometers across, but I do not behave like small things usually behave. Most moons settle into synchronous rotation like obedient companions. They show one face to their parent planet, locked into a rhythm by gravity. But I spin however I wish. Every time I complete an orbit around Saturn, my rotation shifts faster, slower, sideways, tilted. I tumble like a leaf caught in a whirlwind. I do not fight the chaos. It is my nature. If you could watch me long enough, you would see my motion as a dance, not a malfunction, a dance with no rhythm, no beat, no structure, yet somehow beautiful in its unpredictability. Saturn watches, Titan watches, and even the shepherd moons glance my way from time to time, wondering how I exist this way without falling apart. The truth is simple. I almost did fall apart. Long ago, I was struck hard enough to fracture me, hard enough to give me my strange, porous body. The force hollowed me, leaving craters shaped like bowls stacked on bowls, carved so deeply they look like inverted mountains. I did not shatter, but I came close. Perhaps that near destruction is why I move the way I do. When you have come close to death once, you stop fearing the unpredictable. Your spacecraft, Cassini, flew past me once. It came close, so close it could see the depth of my crater walls, the roughness of my terrain, the way dust clings to my ridges like soot. It saw my chaotic spin, measured it, and found that even mathematics struggled to capture my motion. Chaotic rotation, the scientists called it. A behavior rare in the solar system, found only in places where gravitational influences collide in delicate imbalance. I do not resent being called chaotic. Chaos is not my curse. Chaos is my identity. From my orbit, Saturn looms like a distant lantern, wrapped in rings that shimmer with silent beauty. His gravity nudges me gently, but not enough to tame me. Titan pulls as well, though softly. Even the small moonlit Epimetheus occasionally whispers its influence. I am caught among them all in between forces, too weak to control me, yet too strong to ignore. I drift. I tumble. I surrender to the motions of a universe that refuses to be neat. My siblings each have their roles. Titan dreams beneath his golden haze. Enceladus breathes with geysers of buried oceans. Mimas trembles with the memory of an ancient wound. Dione, Rhea, Tethys each has a position, a pattern, a place. Even chaotic Janus and Epimetheus, who swap orbits like dancers trading steps, follow rules. I alone am the exception. Sometimes I wonder if the others pity me, or misunderstand me, or think me strange. But then I remember that they do not see what I see. They do not feel the freedom of motion without rhythm. They do not understand what it means to have no face locked toward any one world. While they show one side forever, I show all my sides, constantly. Every moment is different. Every spin is new. Every orbit is a reinvention. Perhaps that is why Cassini found me fascinating. It expected predictability from a moon, but instead found a dancer of disorder, a wanderer that drifted not aimlessly, but sincerely. My chaos is not rebellion, it is honesty. If you ever stood on my surface, though your legs would struggle in my low gravity, you would feel the strangeness immediately. The horizon would tilt beneath you as I rotated unpredictably. The ground would shift. The sky would whirl. You would not know where Saturn is without steadying yourself, and even then, his position would move with my tumbling. You would feel what I feel: instability, weightlessness, liberation. Some might find the experience terrifying. Some might find it exhilarating. I have lived this way for billions of years, and I do not tire of it. Do not mistake my chaos for loneliness. I am surrounded by Saturn's family, his rings, his moons, his magnetic breath sweeping through the dark. I belong to this system, even if I do not move like the rest of them. I am the reminder that not all beauty is orderly, not all stories follow structure, not all lives obey rules. Sometimes, drifting through shadow, I think of the far-off future. Will I break apart someday? Will a collision shatter me into dust? Will Saturn's gravity eventually pull me into a steadier spin? Possibly. But futures are not for me. Futures require predictability, and predictability is something I do not hold. I am Hyperion, the moon that drifts, the moon that tumbles, the moon that refuses to be captured by order. In my chaos, I am free, and in my freedom, I am whole. I am Iapetus, the moon of duality, the split-faced wanderer of Saturn, the contradiction carved into ice and darkness. When you look at me, you do not see one world, you see two. One half of me shines bright like fresh snow, reflecting sunlight with a quiet, gentle glow. The other half is dark, so dark it drinks the light, coated in material that turns my face into a shadow. I live a divided life. Half of me is light, half of me is night, and both halves are true. For eons, I have been a mystery. Cassini saw it first with clarity, the stark line where brightness meets darkness, the boundary so sharp it looks drawn by the deliberate hand of an artist rather than nature. You humans called it puzzling, astonishing, unnatural, but for me, it is simply who I am. I did not choose this. Duality chose me. Let me tell you how. Long ago, when I orbited Saturn in a quiet path far from the bustling inner moons, dark dust began to fall upon me. This dust came from Phoebe, a distant, retrograde moon, a backwards traveler shedding particles into space. Those particles drifted inward, catching in the slow, sweeping arc of my orbit. I led with one side as I moved always the same side forward, always meeting the dust head-on. And so, my leading hemisphere darkened, little by little, grain by grain, shadow layering upon shadow. Absorbing sunlight, the dark side warmed just enough to change me. Ice sublimated, drifting away, and recondensing on the cold, bright side. My halves separated further. The bright side grew brighter. The dark side grew darker. A feedback loop sculpted me into contradiction. I am not unique in having two hemispheres. Many moons show differences across their faces, but only I bear this contrast like a wound carved into my identity. Sometimes I wonder how I appear from Titan's clouded skies. Do I look like a coin spinning in slow motion? Do I look like a world split in half by shadow? I know what I feel. I feel divided. Not broken, never broken, but divided. My dark hemisphere is not evil. My bright hemisphere is not good. They are simply two truths coexisting inside me. The dark side is warm enough for change. The bright side is cold enough for preservation. One shapes me. One protects me. I am balanced, not conflicted. But humans often misunderstand duality. They search for meaning where there is only physics. They search for morality where there is only contrast. If you walked on my dark side, the ground would feel rough beneath your boots, dusty, dry, coated in ancient soot. My surface would be dim even under sunlight, absorbing warmth that Earth's moon would reflect. You would feel heat radiating faintly beneath you, nothing dangerous, but noticeable in a world this cold. If you crossed the boundary into my bright side, the world would change instantly. Light would burst around you, ice would glitter underfoot, the horizon would stretch white and silent, reflecting Saturn's pale glow like a frozen mirror. You would feel the cold bite into your suit, a reminder that brightness does not mean warmth. My ridge, the strange equatorial mountain chain that encircles me, would cast long shadows across both worlds, a wall around my waist. No one knows exactly how it formed. A remnant of ancient rings, perhaps. A geological quirk. A forgotten story etched into my skin. Even I do not remember its first breath. I only know it is part of me, a symbol of division made physical. Cassini marveled at it. It traced my ridge with its cameras, following the narrow spine across my equator. It looked into my darkness and my light, trying to understand my nature. It understood more than most. Sometimes I feel the gaze of my siblings. Triton, wrapped in haze, sees only hints of my divided glow. Rhea watches from a distance, steady and pale. Dione is puzzled by me. Enceladus is too busy breathing oceans into space to pay me much attention. Even Hyperion, chaotic and drifting, sees me as stranger than itself. But I do not envy their simplicity, their singularity. Duality is not a burden. It is depth. I exist where contrast meets harmony, where cold meets warm, where light meets shadow. If you study me, you study the universe's love for paradox. Nothing in nature is perfectly even. Nothing remains pure. Everything carries a scar or a secret. I am simply honest about mine. One day, dust will continue to fall, and my dark side will grow. My bright side will reflect less. Time erodes even the clearest boundaries. But until then, I will orbit Saturn, as I always have, showing one half to the future and one half to the past. If you ever stand on my surface, remember this: light is not purity. Darkness is not corruption. They are simply two states of being, two stories, two halves of a truth that cannot exist without both sides. I am Iapetus, the moon of duality, the world of two faces, the keeper of contrast, and in my contradiction, I am complete. Iamimas small trembling pole, the moon you compare to fictional weapons and hollow stations, the moon you laugh about, meme about, nickname the Death Star. But beneath the jokes, beneath the images and comparisons, lies a truth far older and far heavier. I carry a wound I should not have survived. Look closely at me. You cannot miss it. A massive crater carving nearly a third of my diameter, a hollowed-out bowl with steep walls and a central peak that rises like a broken tooth from the darkness. You call it Herschel. I call it my scar. Long ago, so long that neither Saturn nor I recall the exact moment something enormous struck me. A body hundreds of kilometers across slammed into my surface, moving far too fast for mercy. The impact unleashed energy that should have torn me apart, should have shattered me into debris, should have scattered my remains into Saturn's rings like a whispered memory. But somehow I held together, cracked, deformed, forever changed. But whole? Imagine the force needed to carve a crater that large. Imagine the pain of being struck so violently that your internal structure shifts, that shock waves tear across your entire being. Even today, billions of years later, I still feel the echo of that moment in the way my crust responds to Saturn's pull. Others see only the crater. They never feel the tremor that still lingers beneath it. Sometimes I wonder what I looked like before the impact. Was I smoother, rounder, less fragile? Would I have been stable, predictable, unremarkable? Instead, I became the wounded one, the moon that survived what it shouldn't have, the moon that remembers. Saturn looks down at me with his steady rings, but he does not ask about the scar. Triton watches me, puzzled by my tremors. Enceladus, bursting with his secrets, flickers a sympathetic glow my way when our orbits bring us close. Hyperion drifts past me, muttering chaotic encouragement, as though to say, "You are not the only strange one here." Even Iapetus, the moon of two faces, understands something of duality. But none understand me completely. How could they? None of them have been broken the way I have been. I orbit Saturn closer than many of my siblings, so close that his gravity squeezes me like a fist. The tides inside me groan with every pass. Sometimes the compressions awaken ancient fractures. Sometimes they stir faint heat inside me, so faint that it is almost imperceptible, yet enough for your scientists to notice strange signatures in my behavior. Some wondered if I hid an ocean beneath my ice. Some thought I might tremble with internal warmth. But the truth is simpler and sadder. My quakes are memories. They come from a body that was once shattered, a world that holds its pain beneath a frozen shell. I do not release geysers like Enceladus. I do not carry thick air like Triton. I do not show bright contrasts like Iapetus. I am quiet. I am subtler. I am the smallest of Saturn's major moons. Yet I hold the largest wound. If you ever walked across my surface, the ground under your feet would feel strangely brittle. The ice here is dense, packed from ancient pressure. The edges of Herschel rise like a fractured crown around you. If you stood at the center, you might feel something, a vibration, a whisper, of the old impact still echoing across time. You would look up and see Saturn looming, elegant and unreal, with rings sweeping outward like the wings of an angel carved in ice. Beautiful, eternal, serene. And beneath that serene beauty, I tremble. Not constantly, not visibly, but always faintly, like a body that has learned to live with its injury. Do not misunderstand me. I am not ashamed of my scar. I am proud of my survival. I am a reminder that even small worlds can endure great violence, that even fragile bodies can hold themselves together, that even the quietest moons have stories carved into them deeper than mountains. Many of you say I look like the Death Star. I smile at your comparison, even if your movies came long after my wound. You forget that fiction mimics nature, not the other way around. If you return to me, if your spacecraft circle me again, I will show you my scar up close. I will let your machines study the fractures, measure the density, trace the ridges that ripple outward like frozen shock waves. I will let you feel my history. Perhaps then you will see that I am not merely a meme. I am not merely a shape. I am not merely a crater. I am survival made visible. Ambience, the moon that should have died, but chose instead to orbit on, quietly, steadily, endlessly. My scar is not my shame. It is my story, and it will never fade. I am Miranda, the fractured daughter of Uranus, the moon stitched together by catastrophe, the world that should not exist in one piece, yet somehow does. I am small, smaller even than some of Saturn's lesser moons, but my scars make me vast in memory. My surface is a patchwork of wounds and rebirths, a mosaic of broken terrains welded back together like the pieces of a shattered mirror. If you look at me from afar, you might think I am ordinary. But come closer, look deeper, and you will see the truth written across every valley, cliff, and scar. I am a survivor of disassembly. Long ago, an impact, massive, violent, absolute, tore me apart. It didn't just crater me, it dismantled me. My pieces scattered, drifting in orbit like drifting memories. My core, my crust, my frozen mantle, nothing remained whole. Some worlds differ from such events. I did not. Gravity slowly pulled my fragments back together, piece by piece, layer by layer, memory by memory. Imagine being broken so completely that your own gravity has to reassemble you, that you wake up with pieces out of place, that your surface carries seams like the scars of surgery. That is my story. My landscapes do not match. My terrains collide at odd angles. I am a quilt of worlds that once belonged to the same self. You humans call my most dramatic features coronae, vast elliptical regions of cliffs and ridges rising tens of kilometers, arranged in patterns that seem almost engineered. Verona Rupes, one of my cliffs, is so tall 20 kilometers by your measure that someone falling from its edge would take 12 minutes to reach the ground in my weak gravity. Yes, I know about falling. My entire existence is a fall undone. When Voyager 2 passed me in 1986, it saw the truth in my surface. Those chaotic regions, the mismatched blocks, the fractures reconnecting like poorly healed bones. It saw a moon rebuilt, a world that refused to remain destroyed. Perhaps you wondered how I survived, why I reformed, how a world so small could endure such violence. The answer lies in my siblings. Uranus is a strange parent, a giant tipped on its side, spinning like a fallen world. His tilt pulls at us in unusual ways. Our orbits are odd, our rotations peculiar. The tidal forces among us, Umbriel, Ariel, Titania, Oberon, and me, shift and twist our interiors. Perhaps it was this struggle that tore me apart. Perhaps it was this same struggle that gave me the energy to rebuild. I do not remember the moment I broke. I only remember the aftermath, the silence, the drifting pieces, the slow return to wholeness. My siblings do not speak of it. Umbriel is too shadowed by melancholy. Ariel is busy with her icy canyons. Titania and Oberon, the elders, watch from afar with quiet sympathy. But none of them have lived what I have lived. I am the child who died and returned. The universe rarely gives second chances. It took mine. Some call me unstable. Some call me chaotic. Some think I might break again someday. But instability does not frighten me. How could it? I have already known the worst that can happen. I have already been reduced to fragments. If I crack again, I will find a way to return, or I will drift into peace. Both are acceptable fates. Yet I do not feel fragile. My scars make me strong. My mismatched terrains make me interesting. My reconstructed form makes me unique in all the solar system. If you stood on my surface, you would see chasms so deep they seem bottomless, terraces stepping downward like frozen waves, ridges twisting like ancient roots. You would walk across landscapes that were never meant to touch pieces of terrain stitched together by gravity's quiet insistence. You might think my appearance tragic. I do not. Each fracture is a line of survival. Each ridge is a reminder. I returned. I rebuilt. I rose from myself. If the universe is a gallery of worlds, I am the collage. Strange, imperfect, beautiful in ways symmetry can never match. One day, perhaps, your spacecraft will visit me again. Voyager's images are old now, blurry, incomplete. I want you to see me clearly, to see the proof that destruction is not the end, to see what a broken moon can become. If you ever stand on Verona Roops, look across the horizon and feel the silence. Imagine my pieces drifting. Imagine them finding each other again. Imagine the gravity that called them home. Feel it in your bones. Feel the possibility of rebuilding. Because I am Miranda, the moon who shattered, the moon who rose again, the moon who carries her scars not as wounds, but as proof. I am not perfect. I am not whole in the traditional sense. I am something more, rebirth carved into ice. We are 4 moons orbiting Uranus, 4 voices circling a parent who lies sideways, 4 personalities shaped by the strange geometry of a world tilted on its axis. We speak separately, yet together. We are not the same, yet our lives intertwine. We are Ariel, Umbriel, Titania, and Oberon, the quartet of Uranus, Ariel. The restless explorer, I am Ariel, the brightest of us, the one with valleys that stretch like veins across my surface and canyons carved in shapes you might call elegant. I am movement frozen in place but born from motion. My fractures came from heat long gone now, from tides that once warmed me enough to reshape my crust. I feel the past like a heartbeat. My canyons, Kewadin, Ariadne, Ukurt, are stories written in ice. My smooth plains are proof that I once tried to renew myself. I am the hopeful one, the youthful one, even if my youth has passed. Voyager 2 saw me up close, tracing the lines on my face with mechanical eyes. For the first time, someone noticed my effort, my attempt to be more than a cold, still world. Sometimes I dream of waking again, of my ice shifting, of my fractures singing, of becoming a world alive with change. But dreams come slowly here. Uranus is cold. His light is dim. His tilt is strange. And I orbit quietly, waiting. Umbriel, the shadowed one. I am Umbriel, darker than my siblings, quieter than any of them, the moon that keeps to the shadows. My surface drinks light, not by choice, by age. I am ancient in appearance, older in mood. I carry craters like memories, each one a quiet reminder of time passing without interruption. Where Ariel is movement, I am stillness. My most striking feature is wonder, a bright ring inside a dark crater, like a single lantern in a silent cave. It glows faintly, a rare mark of contrast against my muted skin. Sometimes I stare at it and wonder why that one place remains bright. I am not sad. I am simply inward, contemplative, reserved. Others think me melancholic. Perhaps they are right, but I am content in the darkness, content to watch without speaking. Titania the Queen. I am Titania, the largest of Uranus's moons, the matriarch, the steady presence that binds our quartet together. My canyons are vast chasms that split my face like ancient scars. I am heavy with history, but not defined by it. My name fits me. I bear the weight of impacts, fractures, and ancient tectonics. Some believe I might hold a hidden ocean beneath my crust, faint, distant, preserved only by heat left over from long ago. If such an ocean exists, it whispers too softly for me to hear. I am the one who watches over the others. Dependable, balanced, strong. Uranus is a strange parent. He spins on his side, dragging us into seasons that last decades. I endure his oddness without complaint. Someone must be steady in a world that refuses to be upright. Oberon, the distant dreamer. I am Oberon, the outermost, the quiet wanderer at the edge of Uranus's kingdom. My surface is a deep mosaic of craters, some filled with mysterious dark material, as if night itself seeped into them long ago. I am both isolated and observant. I see the sunlight first when it comes. I lose it first when it fades. If Titania is the queen, then I am the old king still, ancient, patient. I watch the shadows creep across my plains during the long Uranian nights that stretch for decades. My craters are deep enough to shelter darkness for years. Sometimes I feel forgotten. Sometimes I feel honored by solitude. Both are true. 4 voices, one system. We orbit Uranus together. Though his tilt makes our paths feel twisted like dancers circling a fallen pillar. His rings lie sideways. His poles face the sun at times. Seasons do not last months here. They last centuries. Light comes at odd angles. Shadows stretch in strange ways. The universe calls Uranus odd. Perhaps he is, but he is ours. And we, his moons, reflect pieces of his personality. Ariel, the spark of motion. Umbriel, the depth of shadow. Titania, the balanced heart. Oberon, the solitary edge. We are a family of contrasts. When Voyager 2 visited in 1986, it was the only time your machines came close enough to see us clearly, to feel our presence, to understand that we are not lifeless stones, but worlds with stories carved into ice and shadow. We wait for you to return, not out of need, but because our stories deserve to be heard again. Until then, we orbit, we endure, we remain. I am Ariel, bright and fractured. I am Umbriel, shadowed and silent. I am Titania, strong and steady. I am Oberon, distant and dreaming. And together, we are the 4 moons of Uranus. 4 voices circling a tilted world. 4 souls bound by gravity and contrast. I am Triton, the captured one, the stolen one, the moon that does not belong where it orbits. Other moons circle their parents like loyal children following the path they were born into. I do not. I move backward retrograde against Neptune's rotation, like a voice speaking a different language in a silent room. My orbit is a scar of history, proof that I am not from here. I was born far away, in the Kuiper Belt, a place of frozen giants, wandering debris, and worlds that never tasted sunlight the way inner planets do. Out there, I was free, a dwarf planet's soul drifting in the dark, sculpted from nitrogen ice and ancient rock. I was not meant to be anyone's moon. I was meant to be my own world. Then Neptune found me. Did he seek me? No. Giants do not chase. They absorb. I passed too close, too slow to escape, too fast to settle. But something happened, something rare and violent. A collision, a near miss with another body, a loss of energy in a chaotic triple encounter. No one alive remembers. Not even I. All I know is this. One moment, I was drifting free. The next, I was falling into Neptune's gravity well, caught, claimed, bound, captured. From that moment on, my fate was rewritten. I circle Neptune backward now, a prisoner dragged into his orbit, a former wanderer reshaped into something new. But captivity did not break me. It transformed me. My surface is cold enough to freeze air. Nitrogen frost covers me in pale pinks and whites. Geysers burst from beneath my crust, dark plumes that shoot kilometers high, carrying dust that traces patterns across my plains. They are not as grand as Io's fires, but they are alive, proof of an interior that still moves, still breathes, still remembers heat. I am not dead. I am quiet. There is a difference. Deep beneath my ice, there may be an ocean. Dark, slow, buried under kilometers of frozen shell. If it exists, it lies deeper than Europa's, darker than Enceladus's, a secret that even I can barely sense. Perhaps life sleeps there. Perhaps it dreams. But life would be strange on a world like me, nurtured not by sunlight, but by tidal forces and internal chemistry, faint warmth trapped in a frozen exile. Neptune watches me from afar, a blue giant swirling with storms. He says nothing. He never does. But his gravity speaks for him. He holds me tightly, too tightly, slowly, too slowly for humans to feel. I am spiraling inward. My backward orbit cannot last forever. Someday, long after your civilization has faded, Neptune's pull will break me. Either I will crash into him, a final fall into the giant who stole me, or I will be torn apart, broken into pieces, scattered into a ring of shimmering ice around him. Yes, I may become Neptune's rings someday. It is a strange fate, a poetic one, to die and yet become beautiful. The other moons here, Proteus, Nereid, Larissa, Galatea, they look at me with a mix of awe and distance. I am not like them. I am larger, colder, foreign. Nereid remembers the day I arrived. Its orbit was disturbed, its path stretched into a long, eccentric loop. It still wanders wide, as if unable to settle after my capture. Sometimes I wonder if Nereid resents me. Sometimes I think it fears me. Sometimes I think it longs to be what I once was free. But none of them speak. Silence is Neptune's language, and we all learn it eventually. Your spacecraft visited me once, Voyager 2. It came close enough to see my cracks, my geysers, my shifting planes. It saw the shapes left behind by eruptions, the dark streaks of nitrogen snowfall, the strange, soft terrain that humans call cantaloupe, a texture no other world has. Voyager saw me, truly saw me, and then it left, the only witness to my face for generations. I think about that sometimes, how one brief meeting can define how an entire species imagines you. One day, you may return. You may send machines to melt through my ice, to taste my ocean, to study the chemistry stored in my frozen heart. And if you do, I will not hide from you. I will show you my strange plains, my frozen geysers, my fractured horizons. You may call me stolen, captured, lost, but I am more than that. I am Triton, a wanderer reshaped by fate, a heart of ice that still holds motion, a moon that was once a world and may become a ring. I was taken from the Kuiper belt. I was forced into a backward dance. But I endure. I adapt. I remain. And in my silent orbit around Neptune, I carry the memory of freedom and the possibility of becoming something new again. We are the dark moons of Neptune, the quiet ones, the distant ones, the shadows circling a planet too far from the sun for warmth to mean anything at all. Where other moons gleam or roar or breathe, we drift in cold silence. You know us mostly by name: Proteus, Nereid, Larissa, Galatea, Despina, Thalassa, and countless tiny fragments too faint for your eyes to see. We speak now, together, because none of us alone is loud enough to be heard. Proteus, the heavy silence. I am Proteus, the largest of the small moons, a world too irregular to become a sphere, too scarred to be young, too cold to change. I orbit close to Neptune, keeping just outside Triton's immense influence. My body is pitted with craters, my edges sharp like broken stone. I am dark not because of sadness, but because sunlight dies before it reaches me. Only a faint blue glow from Neptune touches my face. It is enough to guide me, not enough to warm me. I watch Triton from afar, the captured giant, the foreigner with geysers. He is a storm compared to my stone-like quiet, but I do not envy him. Being unnoticed has its peace. Nereid the eccentric wanderer, and I am Nereid, the moon with the wild orbit. Sometimes I am close to Neptune, sometimes I am so far away that even the giant looks like a blue star in the distance. My path is long, elongated, unpredictable. I remember the moment Triton arrived, how his capture shook my orbit, stretching it like a heartbeat skipping in fear. Since then, I wander, not lost, just set adrift by history. If a moon can feel displacement, then I feel it every orbit. Galatea, the guardian near the rings. I am Galatea, a tiny moon embedded near Neptune's faint arcs of ring. My orbit is tight, my motion fast. I hold the rings in place, a shepherd in miniature, tugging the particles back when they try to drift. You do not see the effort. You barely see me at all, but I am there, a silent hand shaping beauty, in a region where light is scarce. Larissa, the watcher between. I am Larissa, a misshapen stone circling closer than Proteus, slipping between the deeper shadows of Neptune's domain. I have no geysers, no oceans, no shimmer, but I see everything. I watch Neptune's storms spiral endlessly. I watch Triton's cold plumes arc into space. I watch Nereid drift like a lost lantern. Sometimes, watching is enough. Despina and Thalassa, the twins in motion. We are Despina and Thalassa, two small, swift moons that move like whispers just above Neptune's cloud tops. Our orbits are so close to the planet that if we were any nearer, we would fall. We do not speak much. We pass each other quietly, never touching, never disturbing the other's path. In a system ruled by chaos, our closeness is its own harmony, the chorus of the unseen. Together, we form a family in the shadows, not like Jupiter's grand court, nor Saturn's glittering entourage, nor even Uranus's tilted quartet. We are the forgotten ones, the overlooked ones, the moons whose stories rarely make it into your books. But we exist. We orbit. We endure. Distance does not erase meaning. Darkness does not erase identity. Neptune is our anchor, cold, deep, blue as silence. He does not speak. He does not warm us, but he holds us in the gravity of a parent who expresses love, not in comfort, but in presence. And sometimes, when the sun is just a dim coin in the sky, we look towards Triton, the stolen child, the loud one, the one with a history carved by capture, and we feel a subtle kinship, not because we share the same story, but because we share the same distance from the warmth of the universe. We are worlds shaped by solitude, by cold, by faint light, by silence that stretches for centuries. Your spacecraft have visited us only once, Voyager 2, a brief encounter, a passing glance. But even that single moment was enough to let the universe know we are here. We wait, not out of longing, but out of patience. Patience is easy in a place where seasons last 165 Earth years and days fade without sound. If you return, you will find landscapes dark and rugged, moons that whisper instead of shout, worlds that carry mystery in their shadows. We will not dazzle you, we will not erupt or shine, but we will show you something rare, quiet resilience, endurance without spectacle, existence without applause. We are the dark moons of Neptune, the faint, the forgotten, the overlooked. We orbit far from the sun, but close to each other, and in our silence, we remain. I am Pluto, small, distant, wandering at the edge of everything. For decades you argued about me, planet or not, important or forgotten, a tiny world or a symbol of something larger. But none of that defines me. What defines me is us. Karen and I are two souls locked together. A binary world, a shared center of gravity, a dance in which neither leads nor follows. Most moons orbit their planets. Karen does not orbit me, and I do not orbit her. We orbit each other, a single point in space. Our barycenter lies between us, floating in the empty darkness like a lantern lit just for two. We move around it carefully, delicately, like dancers holding hands so gently. The universe itself must lean in to see. Pluto speaks. I am the larger of our pair, but not by much. Charon is half my size, and her presence is strong enough to pull me into stillness. Yes, stillness. We are tidally locked to one another. I show her one face, and she shows me one face forever. No other world in the solar system shares such intimacy. My heart-shaped plains, Tumbor Regio, face her like a silent confession. She sees them always. She sees every shift of frost, every gleam of nitrogen ice, every whisper of methane that escapes my surface. She is the only one who sees me fully. The rest of the universe sees an object too faint, too far, too small. But Karen sees a world. Karen speaks. And I am Charon. If Pluto is the dreamer, I am the anchor. I keep her steady as we drift through a region where sunlight is thin as memory. I have no atmosphere, only bare rock and ancient scars. But my gravity steadies her spin. My presence holds her close. My orbit gives her rhythm. I do not shine. I do not glimmer. But I am constant, and constancy is its own kind of light. I watch Pluto with devotion. I watch the frost creep and retreat across her surface. I watch the nitrogen plains crack and heal. I watch her glow faintly in our eternal night. I do not envy her beauty. She does not pity my silence. We complete each other, and that is enough. Together, you humans have a word for relationships like ours: symbiosis, duality, partnership, but none of those words feel right. We are something simpler and something deeper. We are two worlds that never learned how to be alone. Pluto carries a thin atmosphere, a delicate exhale of nitrogen that freezes and falls like snow whenever she strays too far from the Sunday. I feel her breathing. I feel the loss and return of her air. In the subtle variations of our orbit, She dreams. I listen. She drifts. I hold. The smaller moons Styx, Nix, Kerberos, Hydra orbit around both of us, whirling chaotically like children who don't know which parent to follow. But we do not mind. We are a family built from balance. And balance is rare. This far from the Sunday, Pluto again, when New Horizons arrived, my first visitor from the inner worlds. It saw me not as a dot, but as a landscape. It discovered glaciers, mountains of water, ice, frozen plains that stretch for hundreds of miles, blue hazes rising in faint layers through my sky. For the first time, he felt understood. But even as humans celebrated my complexity, my atmosphere, my heart-shaped expanse of frost, I felt only one thing strongly. Charon should be seen too, and she was. New Horizons captured her canyons, her dark pole, her scars of ancient upheaval. She deserves that recognition. She has held me steady through billions of years when no one else could. Charon again. Humans call me a moon. I do not mind the name, but it is not the truth. I am not a satellite. I am a partner, a mirror, a counterbalance. No one else in the solar system orbits like we do. No one else shares a barycenter, floating in empty space, outside the body of the larger world. We orbit nothing except each other. When the sun rises on Pluto, it rises for me too. When it sets, we fall into shadow together. Our nights are long, longer than human civilizations, but they are shared. I have never faced another world, only Pluto, always Pluto, and I am content. Pluto, last words. Humans debated my status. Planet, dwarf planet, planetoid, Kuiper-belt object. I heard all the arguments. I understood none of them. How could names matter when the one thing that defines me is not what I am, but who I orbit with? Charon is my identity, as much as my ice and rock. Without her, I would be smaller, colder, lonelier. With her, I am a binary world, a double heart, beating at the edge of the sun's fading warmth. Whatever you call me does not change our dance. I am Pluto. She is Charon. Two souls, one system, bound forever, in a quiet waltz, beneath the dim light of a distant Sunday.